Hi.
Hello everyone! 配信がスタートしました。
はい
皆さん、こんにちは。こんばんは。ちょっと微妙な時間ですね、4時。見えていますか？音も大丈夫ですか？ぜひチャットで教えてください。Thank you for joining us today. Can you see and hear us? Is everything okay? Okay, please let us know in the chat. Yeah, それでは、第20回カフェトーク英語シンポジウム国際女性デースペシャル、を開始したいと思います。本日司会を担当します。カフェトークスタッフのマレーンと申します。My name is Madeline, and I will be your host today for this 20th English Symposium Women's Day special. International Women's Day was last week on Wednesday, March 8th, so just 1 week ago today. それでは、世界中の5人の講師を紹介したいと思います。テーマは、こちらになります。So first off, we have Becca. まずは、ベカ先生。テーマは精神的負担、女性にのしかかる見えないルカ。そして、その後は今、動画はまだ出ていないんですけど、ちょっとトラブルがあるようですが、後では出ると思います。次はカメルーンのサラ先生。テーマはカメルーンにおける女性の権利に関する課題。で、その次は、イタリア出身で、ドイツに住んでいる、セレナ先生。テーマはイタリアバロックの画家、アルテミジア、ジェンティレスキです。で、その次は、エイミ・ミヤビ先生。日本とアメリカにおけるジェンダーロールの違いについて教えてくれます。で最後には、タイ出身の、ムンタナ先生がタイにおけるジェンダー平等と女性の活躍、について話してくれます。ベカ先生はカナダの深夜に参加してくれるので、遅い時間のため途中にいなくなります。Okay, so one more in English. Today we're joined by 5 tutors from all around the world, and I'd like to introduce their topics. So first, Becca will tell us about mental load, the hidden burden women carry. Then afterwards, Sarah will tell us about challenges of women's rights in Cameroon. Sarah is currently having a few troubles with her camera, but hopefully we'll fix it and then she can join. Otherwise, we'll just hear her voice and we can still see her presentation, I hope. Afterwards, Serena will speak about the Italian Baroque painter Artemisia Gentileschi, and I'm sure she will tell us the correct pronunciation of that name.
It's perfect.
And Amy Miyabi will speak about gender roles in Japan versus the United States. And then finally, Muntana will speak about gender equality and women at work in Thailand. Since it's currently in the middle of the night in Canada, Becca will leave us after her presentation. もし講師へのご質問やコメントがあれば、英語でも日本語でも、大丈夫ですので、気軽に右側にありますチャットボックスから送信をお願いします。今日の配信は後でも無料でもう一度見れます。途中に参加される方、もう一度見たい方は、ぜひ数日後にもう一度キャンペーンページで、アーカイブをご覧ください。If you have any questions for the tutors or comments on their presentation, please feel free to write in the chat on the right side during the stream, and we'll talk about your questions after each presentation. This live stream will also be available as a recording for free later if you can't watch the whole stream or if you want to watch it again later. Please check out the campaign page in a few days and then you will find the recording there. So that's it for my introduction. And let's start with Becca's presentation first.
Okay.
So feel free to share your screen whenever you're ready.
Mm-hmm. Can everyone see this?
Yes. Yep.
I'm going to keep it like this because I'm going to try to see if the chat is there as well. I know that you guys are monitoring it, but just in case.
If we get questions, I will tell them later. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Because for me, it says chat is disabled. So
it's a different chat, so no problem.
Okay. So hi, my name is Becca. I go by Becca Beth on Cafetalk. And I have chosen a kind of heavier topic that is very hard to talk about in only 10 minutes. It's mainly going to focus on women. So I'm going to talk a lot about women doing this stuff. Men do this stuff sometimes, but I'm mainly going to focus on that. And I'm mainly focusing on heterosexual couples. So if you know what that means, I'm not going to talk about any other couples and that kind of stuff, just heterosexual. So we're going to talk about what is mental load. What is it? So it's a hidden burden on women. So mental load, quite a long definition, is the invisible labor or the work involved in managing a family and household. The mental load is the whole bundle of details you manage throughout the day. It has to do with your responsibilities, as well as the decisions you have to make to anticipate or plan, monitor, and manage all of the needs, resources, and schedules of the family. It can be done by both women and men, but it is usually automatically placed on women. So the main things to take from this is it's invisible labor. It means that you can't see when it's done. You can't tell when it's done. So it's not something like washing the dishes, which you can see they are washed. Invisible labor is inside. So mental means in your brain, right? So this is all the stuff inside your head that you need to manage. Okay. So I can't see any comments, but I'll just ask this question to the people listening. Who does these tasks in your house? So who plans all the grocery shopping and meals for your family, cooks them, plans all the holidays, buying gifts, decorating, plans activities for the family, gets the children ready, reminds children and partners of important dates, tracks and buys all hygiene. Hygiene is like shampoo and soap and clothing items, schedules bill payments and housing maintenance, organizing housing repairs, tracks and books all appointments for family and pets, checks in on everyone's emotional needs, researches and handles all discipline for the children, scheduling of children's school, their field trips, their play dates with friends, their library book due dates, and their homework. So I just want you to think about who does most of those tasks in your house, because most of these are things that you need to plan ahead, you need to remember things, you need to research. There are a lot of mental things. And I don't know if there's anything in the chat. No. Okay. Of course, these are examples of mental load. And most of them are usually done by women. They're either done by the wife or the mother, or older female children also will take on these roles, right? So they're the heavy things. So if you imagine, like, for example, let's think about what is the mental load of these. So planning an activity for the family. You have to think about how far away is this activity? How will I dress the children so that they are not cold or hot? What activities will there be there? What about food? Should I bring some snacks? I should probably pack some diapers. There's a million things that you need to consider for each thing. So you have to think about all these things and you need to plan in advance. Okay, so this is just a little comic. It's actually by a French comic artist, and I don't have the website now, but I can post it later. But it's about mental load. So mental load is about remembering. That's just one aspect of mental load. So as you can see, there's 3 women standing here, and remember that you have to add cotton buds to the shopping list. Remember that today, the deadline to order your vegetable delivery for the week. Remember that we should have paid the caretaker for last month's work by now. The baby grew another 3 centimeters and can't fit in any of his trousers or his pants. That he needs to get his booster shot, or that your partner doesn't have a clean shirt left, right? So it's all this remembering and this constant thinking of like what needs to be done and what needs to be done tomorrow, what needs to be done now, and that kind of stuff, right? It's a lot of mental load. Women doing a task. So when women do a task, they do it in a very different way than men usually, because the mental load is partially noticing around you what needs to be done. So there's dirty dishes in the sink. I need to wash those, but it's so much more. And I know that a lot of women will agree with me. This is an example of a woman cleaning a table. So she looks at it and she's like, okay, I'm going to clean this. She starts by picking up one thing to go put it away. But on the way, she sees that there is a dirty towel on the floor. from her kids or from her husband or whatever. So she picks it up and she thinks I should put it in the laundry. So she puts in the laundry. But when she gets to the laundry is full. So she picks up the laundry and she goes to wash the laundry. And then she sees some vegetables on the counter that need to go into the fridge. So as she's doing the laundry, she needs to put away these vegetables. So she puts away the vegetables. And then she realizes she needs mustard. So she adds it to her shopping list. So she'll remember later. And so on and so forth. And it actually takes her about 2 hours to clean this table. And what I mean about men and women do it differently is men would just clean the table, while women tend to notice more of like, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, right? So what we often hear is, you should have asked. I get really mad at my boyfriend if he says this. And I gave him a good example, which I will give you guys. But you should have asked. So you can see on the left side, if I ask my partner to clear the table, he'll just clear the table. The towel will stay on the floor. The vegetables will rot, go bad on the counter because they're not in the fridge. And they won't have mustard, and the laundry won't be done, right? So women pick up a lot of stuff, like they just notice, and they do a lot of odd small jobs at the same time. And what our partners are really saying when they ask us to tell them what needs to be done is they're not taking on the mental load, right? They're making you remember everything. And I had a really good video I was going to show you, but maybe if you see me again in another class, I'll show it to you. But it was about, it's a sitcom, so it was a funny show, and a husband comes in and asks, where are the scissors? And the wife gets really angry. Like, you've lived here for your whole life, like with me, why don't you know where the scissors are? So like, we become the holders of remembering everything, where everything is, and men don't hold that. And that's a lot for women to hold. So why is that annoying? This is the example I gave my boyfriend, which I think is a good example. Why is it annoying that you could have just asked me to help or tell me what to do? Imagine you're at work and a new employee starts working with you and you're the manager. They have worked with you for 6 months and completed their training, but they still complete only one job. And let's say they don't do a great job, they do part of it. And then they come to you every time for you to tell them their next task, or they sit at their desk and don't do anything. They should know what to do by looking over their work or noticing, but they come to you over and over again, and you have to organize their day task by task, or do it yourself. Because maybe it's hard for you to tell them what to do every time, right? So that's why it can get frustrating, is women also start to feel like they're managers of their men in their life, right? So that can get quite frustrating. And this is what I mean about men and women do jobs differently, is so the wife tells the husband, can you take the baby's bottle out of the dishwasher? But when she gets up in the middle of the night and she's tired and she's trying to feed the baby, he's just left the dishwasher open with the bottle on the counter. He didn't notice that the dishwasher needed to be emptied or anything like that. Okay, quick little exercise. Your child's birthday is next month. What do you need to do to prepare? First of all, when is your child's birthday? I watched a video where they asked men on the street what their child's birthday was, and none of them could answer. So kind of a sad video, but a funny one at that. Okay, so what is the mental load that you need to do for a child's birthday? Right, so you have to keep track of the date. You have to know when your child's birthday is. You have to keep track of their current likes for gift ideas, right? So do they like Spider-Man? Do they like princesses? You have to keep track of that. You have to go buy gifts. So you have to find time without your child to go buy a gift. You have to wrap the gift. You have to invite their friends. You either have to decide you're going to make invitations, you're going to buy them, you're going to send them with your kid, you're going to call. What are you going to do? You got to buy decorations. You got to decorate your house. You got to choose the decorations. Maybe they like Spider-Man, so all Spider-Man. You got to drive around. You got to find those. You got to order a cake and pick it up on the day of the party. You got to host all other children and run the party. Cook all the food, snacks, prepare games, take care of the children, the timing of the cake, the opening of the gifts. And you got to clean up the party. You got to put away the leftovers, take down the decor, etc. You got to send thank you notes. Right? So there's just a lot of mental load and a lot of planning that goes into one single party for a child that doesn't include anything else. Why is it important? So why is it important that both partners take on mental load? More and more women are deciding not to get married or be in a relationship, and there's more and more divorce. Living with a man adds on average 7 or more hours of housework to a woman's week, just the housework. Women lose romantic interest in partners that don't do any of the mental load. They start to build resentment and feel their husband is one of their children. More women are working full-time jobs, just as much as men. And women are getting burnt out and facing mental and physical health effects because they're doing 2 jobs at the same time. And that one of the most important, I think, because the world is changing, is children learn what they see. What can you do? So I'll give you 3 things. The closing task method. That means you complete a task completely. An example is if you're in charge of meals, then you do the planning, grocery shopping, cooking, and cleaning. If you just do the cooking, then you're leaving all the rest to your partner. So you can see plan meals, make grocery list, grocery shopping, cook, cleanup. If you just cook, your partner's doing the cleanup, the grocery shopping, the planning. Be aware of how much mental load you actually do. Men are more likely to expect praise and thanks for completing small chores, like I did the dishes, or caring for their children. Remember, women do a lot of invisible labor that they never get any gratitude for. So don't expect a parade for doing what's part of a responsibility of living in a house with a family. It's not a favor to your partner. Give more gratitude to your partner as well. I have this funny comic of, I did the dishes. So husband's like, I'm a superhero. We see a lot of funny comics like this. Number 3, don't wait for your partner to ask you to help them. If you see there are dirty dishes or one of your kids needs their jacket, do it. Don't wait for your partner to tell you to do it. That makes them a manager or a decision maker and puts a lot of work into their brains. They will usually just do it themselves to save the labor of having to ask you and explain what jacket they need and that kind of stuff. These are just some funny comics of waiting for my man to wash the dishes. There's so many jokes of this on TikTok, Instagram, so many. Kid's sick day, dad's sick day, mom's sick day. She can't take a sick day because she has to take care of the kids and the family and that kind of stuff. So, my final question. I know this was a very fast topic. Is the mental load equal in your home? And how can you help carry the burden to make it more equal? I know it's very fast, so if you want, I can totally do a whole lesson on this thing. But thank you. And does anyone have any questions for me?
Thank you so much,
I can't
Becca.
see any audience chat.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, it was a quick overview, but that's what this event is for. And if students have more questions or want to talk about the ideas you brought up, they can book a lesson with you and talk more with you. So I'm looking at the chat and I will tell you the questions that were asked.
Okay.
So one student here says, 確かに、考える負担は大体女性の方にありますね、の方にありますね。So yeah, the load, the mental load is usually on the women, the student says. And then someone else says, mental load, I didn't know that word, but it's true. There is so much to think about to manage a family. Then one student was very surprised that it adds 7 hours of additional work.
To have a man.
Lot of students, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then the same student says that in their family, they have a rule that one person cooks and then the other one cleans up. So I guess as long as you establish some kind of rule.
Dividing of the labor. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Personally, I liked the closing task method you said, because people have different styles of how they do things. And I feel like if you have a full task to do, you can do it in your own way. And maybe the other person doesn't say, oh, I don't like how you do that thing, because it kind of works together, right? Because you might plan your meal in a way that you also do the grocery shopping. And if one person does one and then the other, they might clash. So it might be good to have these full tasks and then give off the responsibility, which can also sometimes be hard to say, okay, you're doing things differently than me, but I'm okay with it.
Because I'm still eating food.
Yeah,
Still making
exactly.
dinner or doing their task. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Because I do think that is one thing that's often seen in houses is I hear a lot is I don't ask my husband to do things because he does it wrong or he
Yeah.
doesn't do a good job. And there is a term for this. It's called weaponized incompetence. But it's kind of like on both of them. It's like women kind of have to give up a little bit more control and understand there's
Yeah.
more than one way to do things. But men also need to learn how to do these things because we grow up as children learning like our mothers teach us and everything, right? So we're not
Yeah.
automatically better at cooking and cleaning. I can vouch that my boyfriend is way better at both.
Yeah, and like you said, if children see that there's a different distribution of tasks, then they might, when they are older, they might not think, oh, I have to do this because my mom did this, or it's okay if my
Exactly.
wife does this because my
Well,
mom
and they
did
might be
this.
better partners, right, to their
Yeah.
partners. So definitely.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah.
let me see if we got more comments. No, I think that's it. So yes,
That's
thank you
it.
very much.
Should I
Would you
talk
like
about my
to
cafe
say
talk a little
yes?
bit?
Yeah, would you like to say a
Okay.
bit?
It'll be like 1 minute, but I do have a lot of English lessons on Cafetalk, but a lot of advanced ones as well, because it's kind of a more advanced topic. I do just chats where like we can talk like a coffee house kind of thing. I have a newspaper one where I like read a news story and then we discuss it. There's many different topics. And that's done in different ways every time. And I also do have ones on gender and LGBTQ, which is something I also do lessons on. Yeah. I had one gentleman that I really loved, and he would book constantly the LGBTQ one because he worked with LGBTQ people in Japan. He was a dentist. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got one more comment in Japanese saying 母の負担を減らさなくてはと思いました. So I thought that I really need to make sure my mom does less or has less mental load.
Yeah. Or even just thank her more. I feel like
Yeah, saying thank you more. Not
be
just
more
on Mother's
aware and
Day.
thank her more. Exactly. Like I feel like women don't get enough gratitude for all this additional work that they do without anyone even considering it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, then
Okay.
yeah, we're having a little bit of a change in the order. First of all, thank you very much, Becca. So
I'm going to
for
leave you.
joining at
Thank
this
you so
late
much. It was
time.
lovely to meet you. And maybe I'll see you guys on Cafe Talk again.
Yes.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, Sarah still has some technical issues. So we'll do her presentation later and we will do Serena's first.
Okay.
So feel free to start sharing your screen whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I hope it will work. Just a few seconds. So, okay.
Yes. Yeah, we can see the slides.
Great. So I'm going to share this slide story that will be also a little bit of animation. So here. So I'm speaking today about Artemisia Gentileschi. She was a Baroque painter, a female Baroque painter. But before telling you about her, I would like to tell you a story. So this story is a story of a Jewish young woman. Her name is Judith, and this story is written in the Bible, in the book of Judith, exactly. And as the ancient story relates, a Syrian king, Nebuchadnezzar, sent his general Holofernes to visit the Jewish city of Betulia. So here you can see it's an old movie, 1959. And here you can see the general Holofernes. He was a very bad general, a tyrant. So entering in the palace of Betulia. And he occupies the city. So, and Judith is a beautiful young widow who enters into the enemy palace. And when the watchmen stop her, she says she's willing to tell her people secrets to the general Holofernes. But actually, she's not a traitor. In fact, on the 4th day under the general's protection, she wears her finest clothes in order to seduce him, waits for him to get drunk, and beheads him. So she saves her people from his tyranny. So as you can see, here is the moment in which she beheads Holofernes. In this movie, there is also a romantic touch. So Judith kisses Holofernes because she's in love with him, but it's not the truth. Okay, so this story, as you can see, is a very important story in the Bible, but it's also a very important stories in art. So just a few seconds that the movie ends, and ta-da, she beheads him. So as I said before, this biblical story, Judith and Holofernes, is one of the most beloved subjects in art history. And it features in countless works of art, including in the Sistine Chapel in Rome. You can see, so on the right side above, the Sistine Chapel, so the Judith and Holofernes story there. But, so the most iconic work, artwork, is this one. This one was painted by an artist when she was only 19 years old, Artemisia Gentileschi, and is very well known, especially for this story. Okay, so here is our Artemisia. Okay, Artemisia Gentileschi, and it's a self-portrait in the 1615, 1617. So, who was Artemisia and why her depiction of Judith and Holofernes is different from all the others? Artemisia was born in Rome on the 8th of July 1593. So her teacher was her own father, okay, Orazio Gentileschi, very important artist himself. He tutored her in a dramatic new style, started by another well-known artist, Caravaggio. I think you know all who Caravaggio was. So, why I've chosen this to show Caravaggio? The motive is, this is Medusa from Caravaggio, but in reality is a self-portrait of him, okay? So you can see Caravaggio wearing the snakes of Medusa as a hat, so you can say. So this style this style is called Barocco. So, and Caravaggio, we can say, invented him, started it. And even Barocco is built upon the previous style, that is Rinascimento, Renaissance. But even if Barocco is built on Rinascimento, has many important differences. The Renaissance artists that focused on imitating the classical Greeks, the David of Michelangelo is a very good example. So, and Renaissance works feature moments of calmness and great physical beauty. For example, the Birth of Venus, Botticelli, or the Last Supper of Leonardo. So all is calm and very quiet, and also the figure of the persons, so very beautiful persons, okay? Very beautiful men and women. Another example, the creation of Adam. So Renaissance, Rinascimento was this, in few words. Baroque artists draw attention to a moment of the story with dynamic action. For example, this one. So the picture is moving. And how is it possible? You can see literally the difference from Renaissance and Baroque. So they use two techniques. So the Baroque artists used two techniques to boost the drama. So crowded composition and extreme contrast of dark and light. This contrast is called chiaroscuro. Here are other examples of Barocco. And here we have a great example of chiaroscuro, okay? Another work of Caravaggio. So in Italian, in English, chiaroscuro is called tenebrism, okay? So with these two elements, crowded composition, many people, and extreme contrast of dark and light, chiaroscuro, Caravaggio invented Barocco, okay? And why is it important for us, Barocco? Because the technique is Barocco is the technique that Artemisia Gentileschi used in her works. So here we have two paintings. One on the left is Judith and Holofernes, painted by Caravaggio. And on the right, we have already seen, is Judith and Holofernes, painted by Artemisia. They are both in Barocco style, but her painting, so Artemisia's painting, is the one that you notice first and that you cannot forget. Why? It's the same style. They use both chiaroscuro and represent the same moment, so the beheading of Holofernes. The Judith of Caravaggio keeps a distance from the bloody act. So as you can see, so she's distant and she's thinking, oh my God, what is this? Oh my God, it's terrible. Oh lots of blood. The Judith of Artemisia pushed her sleeves up and wedges her knee on the bed to oppose Holofernes' resistance. So her body position makes the action believable. Besides, the stream of blood soaking the sheets is more realistic. The blood spraying in Caravaggio's painting looks artificial. So as you can see, also, it's very realistic. So the painting of Artemisia compared to the painting of Caravaggio. Okay, so Artemisia finished this painting in 1612, shortly after having married and moving to Florence. In Florence, she found professional success after a very difficult period of life. Why? Because 3 years before, in 1611, a colleague of her father, Agostino Tassi, this one, nicknamed Lo Smargiasso, that in English means the bully, raped her. When Artemisia told her father, he brought Tassi to court on charges for the crime forcible violation of a virgin. This is the court at the time, okay? It's taken from another important movie in 1997 about Artemisia. And what does it mean, forcible violation of a virgin? That means that Tassi had damaged Orazio's property, so his daughter Artemisia. Sorry, wrong. Tassi is one. Okay, we want to see all not all the movie, but the extract of the movie until the end. So, and at that time, for the law, young women's body was only a property owned by their fathers. So Tassi's trials lasted for 7 months, during which Artemisia was interrogated and tortured with thumbscrews, as you can see from the movie, as she testified against Tassi. At the end, Tassi was found guilty, but he managed to revoke his sentence. He spent a few months at home, and by the way, he was married. So also here in the movie, as we can see, Agostino Tassi said about for Artemisia, but in reality he was not. Okay, so in the movie it's always this romantic touch, but okay. So, and that's the story. Okay, Artemisia was raped from her father's friend, and this terrible event has influenced all her works. So here we can go on. As you can see from other works from her, so there are, in all her works, we can see a woman suffering. So Artemisia painted the story of Judith many times. Here, these two, so on the right and on the left, show Judith and her maidservant leaving the enemy place, carrying away the Holofernes' head. But Artemisia painted a most famous portrayal of Judith between 1618 and 1620. So it's what you see on the left. So in this work, Judith wears a yellow cloth. Okay, so the composition is similar to that of her first painting on the right, but has meaningful different details. The sword seems a crucifix, and it means that Judith's revenge is a holy act ordered by God. Artemisia also added a bracelet that features the goddess of the hunt, Artemis. So they have quite the same name, Artemisia and Artemis. So, and Artemis is the signature of Artemisia Gentileschi. So why I have chosen this subject? Because Artemisia Gentileschi was one of the first women to achieve recognition as a professional painter, and she helped to pave the way for future generations of female artists. And through her art, she denounced the terrible female condition of her time. So we must imagine it was in this 1620. So it was really in a time where women were considered as objects and not human beings. So, and that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you for showing the amazing images as well.
Sorry for my English, but I'm not a native speaker.
Wonderful.
I did my best.
Thank you so much. Wow, okay. Yeah, I love that you had so many visual examples as well. That was so great to see. So let me take a look at the chat.
Yes.
Let's scroll up and see where we left off. Okay, one comment says Artemisia was so young when she painted that famous painting. I think that we got that comment first before you explained the whole background. Mm-hmm. Another student says, it's quite a dark painting, but still very beautiful, and looking very real. One question, were women painters like her rare in her time, or were there others as well? I guess it depends on the class
No,
and background,
exactly.
money
So
and everything.
of course, they were rare, not because they were not able to do this, but because they couldn't afford any education. We have to remember. And Artemisia was very lucky because her father was open-minded for that time. And so he was her teacher. So he was a very important painter at that time. And so she was lucky. Many women, but not only in art, also in mathematics, physics, and chemistry, and in many branches, didn't have the opportunity to study, to afford education, because it was not. So women should only have children, marry and have children. So
that was the norm back then.
Yes, exactly.
And then one last comment, what a tragic story, even if it led to beautiful art. Yeah.
Yes, but I have to say that she was happy in her marriage. So she was content in her marriage. So I think in her life. So it was only this terrible so the rape when she was very young, but she had a good life and also success.
So she kept painting for the rest of her life?
Professional. Yes, exactly, until she died in Naples. She was 50, I think. Yes, if I remember well.
And we also just got some tip points from a student saying thank you. So yes, thank you very much for your tip point. Okay, yeah, we'll check back later. Sometimes students write comments later, then maybe we can do pick up some again after everyone's presentations are through.
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, Sarah's still not back, so we'll just continue with the order we have right now. So next up would be Amy. Feel free to share your screen whenever you're ready.
Yes. Okay, let's go here. Can everyone see that?
No,
Yeah,
your screen is shared, but we're on our chat, so you would need to switch to the presentation.
But I'm on the presentation, but let me stop it once. My screen is actually on the presentation though when I'm
okay. Maybe you can open it not in full screen and try again.
Try again with not opening it in full screen. Let's see. Hold on. Sorry, I'm going to show this chat and then. Can you see that? Does that work? No?
No, unfortunately not. I will try to share from my side.
It says. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let me. Okay, yeah, I think I also need to share the full one. But then, does this work? Do you see?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank you so much. Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your help.
No problem. Just tell me whenever I need to go to the next slide.
Absolutely. Thank you. But okay, yeah, thank you so much, everyone. So my name is Amy, and I will be presenting on Japan's gender roles and how it affects the Japanese women in the West, specifically in the United States. Next slide, please. So to begin, I want to just very briefly introduce myself. So my name is Amy Miyabi, and I was born in Japan, but lived the majority of my life in the United States. I have a bachelor's degree in behavioral science research and a master's degree in international affairs, both of which I got in the United States. And I am now getting a second master's degree in international relations in Japan. So I'm actually now living in Kyoto. and very simply in Japan, so 日本生まれ、アメリカ育ちなので、アメリカの大学と大学院から、卒業しましたので、今は京都の大学院で、国際関係研究を勉強しています。As you can see with my educational background, I'm very passionate on human behavior and international studies, which is why I'm now conducting research on gender studies in Japan and the United States.My presentation today will be a very brief explanation of gender studies and how complex they can become internationally. このトピックは、15分に説明するのはね、もうかなり難しいので、なんとか頑張りますので、もちろん質問とかあったらチャットを使ってそこで聞いてください。それでプレゼンが始まるので、よろしくお願いします。Okay, next slide, please.So to begin, I will briefly explain some gender roles in Japanese culture and some insight as to why women are portrayed as they are in Japanese media. So an example I like to start off is Joshikosei culture, which pertains to the Japanese ideology or the Japanese idea that favors high school age girls.This idea has also includes the businesses that offer commercial activities performed by high school girls for male clients. So these can include like going on a chat, going on a walk, having a chat, or even like a cuddle session. However, they do differ from a prostitution service because they do not actually promote sex itself.The next one is a concept called Ryosai Kenbo, which means in English, good wife, wise mother. And this is a gender role popularized in Japanese society. It encapsulates the expectation that it is a woman's patriotic duty to master domestic skills, such as cooking and cleaning, and also to have strong moral standards. Next slide, please.So next up, I want to talk about kawaii culture in Japan. There's a strong preference in Japanese culture for women to be very cute. This can also help explain the concept of child idols. Here is a clip, just a screenshot from a video of Sakura Yune. She is a child idol, and here she is 9 years old performing for a majority male adult audience.As you can see here, cuteness is very popularized in Japanese culture, and it contrasts the girl power or joshiroku in the United States, which is that in the United States, it's more preferable for women to be independent, to have a very strong physique, whereas in Japan, it's more that they are to be cute and very likable. Next slide, please.I want to share some data briefly from a research study conducted by Sugihara and Katsurata, where they interviewed 423 Japanese adults on what they find to be socially desirable characteristics for men and women, and also for them to self-assess themselves. What they found is that the ideal Japanese woman was said to be very amiable, empathetic, polite, very loving to children.However, what they found was from the self-assessment is that only 1/3 of the population actually held these traits. So the point I'm making here is that although media and society may have these socially desirable characteristics for women, they are not an accurate representation of who the women are themselves. Next slide, please.So next, we're going to briefly look at the reception of Japanese culture in Western society. So how much do people in like the United States know about Japanese culture, and how does this influence how they view Japanese women? Next slide, please.So one of the biggest, if not the biggest, market for Japanese culture in the Western society is anime. So anime increases steadily in the market value, and according to the Grandview research, it's expected to continue increasing past the year 2030.Game companies such as Nintendo also have a global influence. So therefore, Japanese media has really taken storm and like really found itself in Western society and become very popular there. So for example, in the United States at this time, the Kimetsu no Yaiba and the Suzume no Tojimari movies are actually both being played in the movie theaters in America. So this is actually really showing how Japanese media is becoming super popular in the West.The issue here, though, that I'm trying to make is that when these gender stereotypes or gender roles of Japanese women are put into Japanese media, this these gender roles are then being imported to Western audiences. And so oftentimes if a Western audience, let's say they don't know anything about Japanese people, like they've never been to Japan, never had a Japanese friend, if they're constantly watching movies and anime and like just, TV shows that are depicting Japanese women in a particular way, oftentimes they're going to think that is the accurate representation of who those women are. Next slide, please. So this is what's going to lead us next to yellow fever. So yellow fever, the definition on the screen here I'm going to read is a sexual fetish rooted in racialized and gendered stereotypes, most commonly held by white men for Asian and Asian American women. Such stereotypes include an assumption that Asian women are shy, submissive, and conformist, while also being viewed as exotic and different. I want to just briefly define what a stereotype is for those who may not be familiar with the term. A stereotype is a simplified assumption or like an idea about what you have about a person without actually knowing who they are, truly. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go very briefly into the theoretical perspective of all this. So starting off, there's Edward Said, and he is a Palestinian professor who was living in the United States. He defined the term Orientalism, which is a theory about how we look at things and people who are very different from us. He calls this the concept of the other, or it could be called the Orient or the us versus them mentality. The idea is that when we view people as different from us, it's very often very easy for us to just categorize them as one category, like, oh, they are their own group because they are not similar to us. Next slide, please. Robin Zhang, she is a researcher who wrote an article about yellow fever, and she states that yellow fever is a dangerous form of hypersexualization. Racial stereotyping here means that we assign certain stereotypes to certain ethnicities. So for example, Asian women are perceived or believed to be very submissive, obedient, shy, soft-spoken. And this also leads to the tendency to homogenize the population. Homogenization is the failure to distinguish or understand that the people in the group are individuals, like they're their own people, and you're just looking at them as a category. Also, I want to mention that people with yellow fever fail to also distinguish that there's different types of like Asians. So like, they'll look at an Asian person as, oh, they're an Asian person. Whereas the reality is they could be Japanese, they could be Korean, they could be Chinese, they could be Thai, but it's not acknowledging those details about the individual. Next slide, please. So an important takeaway from yellow fever is that yellow fever is not just about having a type, and rather it causes the psychological burdens and puts on a social pressure for the woman to act in a specific way because they're expected to act in a certain way. So there's this pressure like, okay, like I'm supposed to act like this. For example, women who already have experience with yellow fever will be in constant doubt whether people have interest in them because of who they are truly or because of their culture, like only because they are Japanese, for instance. These women will then feel depersonalized, feeling that the other people don't actually care about their individual identity and their hobbies and their talents and their interests. All of those are being ignored. Next slide, please. Yellow fever is problematic because it puts a generalization and stereotype on how certain people are supposed to behave. And also the fetishization is very different than just having a preference for Asian women because it's based on this fantasy that the Asian women behave in a particular way, and it ignores or diminishes the fact that they are multi-layered human beings or individuals. Next slide, please. So just to wrap things up, so Japan's gender roles, norms, expectations within one culture may lead to people of other cultures to perceive Japanese women in a particular way. And rather than looking for ways to stop these tendencies and these stereotypes and stopping yellow fever, there is a tendency for the men of different cultures to take advantage of these stereotypes and put those expectations on the woman. An example of this is, let's say someone is harassing a Japanese woman in the United States, and they're harassing the Japanese woman under this expectation that because she's Japanese, like she's not going to fight back, she's not going to do anything about it. This is an example of the yellow fever taking advantage of the woman and who they are. It's also very important to understand that gender roles of one country, especially when viewing the content from that country, is very important to understand that the gender roles are not an accurate depiction of who those individual women are. It's also important for us to remember that when we're viewing media and content from another country, that those what we are seeing on TV are not the accurate representations of the individuals themselves. And instead, we should be viewing the individuals as individuals and rather that and not as a simple category. Of course, this topic was like super, super broad, and like I'm very passionate about this topic, but I couldn't get a lot into the details. However, if you are interested in gender studies or interested in the research, please feel free to contact me. I love talking about this topic. So, anyways, this concludes my presentation. Thank you so much, Madeline, for the screen sharing for me. I'm gonna pass it back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just get back and stop the screen share before. Oh, okay. Yeah, we managed that.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation. I think that's an interesting and important topic because it shows how misogyny, so issues faced by women, overlap with racism, so issues people might face because of their skin color, where they're from, their culture, etc. So
Absolutely.
very important topic. Let me just get to the chat and see what we have here. One student says, it's common for students to confuse the world of anime with the real world. I think especially if someone, like you said, hasn't been to Japan, hasn't met people, then they might think that's how people are or how they speak. When I studied Japanese, a lot of times other students too thought that people spoke like they spoke in anime, not because that's all they knew, right? So
Right,
why would
exactly.
you think that? So it's not necessarily bad intentions, but it's important to keep in mind. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Nice. Let me just. I have one more comment. Let me just read that. Thank you for putting light on this topic. It really resonated with me as I was brought up in the US and Japan and struggled on both sides because of the stereotypes and how I was expected to act as a girl/woman in those cultures, similarly as you mentioned.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thank you for sharing this topic. And like you said, there's so much more to go into. So if students they should definitely check out.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share some more about it.
Thank you. Okay, so wait, let me just scroll down. Okay, so Sarah, would you like to go next? Oh, we can see you, but we can't hear you currently.
Hi.
Yeah, now we can hear you perfectly.
Oh, hello.
Hello,
Thank
I'm
you
glad
so
it worked
much
out.
for your patience. All right. I will share my screen and we can go right in. Here is my presentation. Here. Okay. Please let me know if you can see.
Yes, we can see it now.
All right. Is that big enough? I think.
Yeah, all good.
Okay. All right. So hi everyone. My name is Sarah. Today I'll be talking about the challenges of women's rights in Cameroon. As you can see on the picture, Women's Day in Cameroon is quite a different way, I would say. We do a lot of celebrations. It's like a carnival, actually. I'll talk a little bit from the next slide. The International Women's Day in Cameroon is considered more like a public holiday, actually. So women are allowed to not work on that day. Any woman in any office has the right to refuse to go to work. I know that sounds awkward, but schools where women are taught are mostly closed. And in workplaces, women leave their office and they go out on the streets and do a parade. And on this particular day, actually, my president is always not available, but his wife, we can see the lady clapping, is always present. She represents him and she supports women in general in the entire country. So, this presentation is not just all about the women. This is an opportunity where women and men are recognized. I mean, men who have done things related to feminism, who are supporting women, they are also celebrated on this day. And women who have done anything special in the country, they receive a certificate from the government. So it's like an acknowledgement of what they do. And after that, there is a parade, a march pass from the different groups, banks, in fact, people from all walks of life come to present. Even farmers, they come and they have a march pass, like you can see on the pictures. On this day, actually, women also have a special fabric where we have to sew different designs and we come to the field. I mean, we as in me come to the field and we present. But also, after the march past, the parading, many women go out and they spend a lot of time with their friends, maybe at bars, restaurants, or in their houses. They drink a lot, some sing the whole night, and it's always a loud, nice day. Husbands are expected to give money to their wives so that they can have the fabric sewn and to do makeup and maybe spend extra on that particular day. Some men offer to cook for their families, but that's really not a common thing. All right, so I just thought to mention that, and I'll go now to the challenges of women in Cameroon. For the challenges of women in Cameroon, I separated in three sections: marriage rights, political, social, and economic rights, and educational support. My government has done a lot, but there is still a lot to be done. Now, relating to marriage, there are still instances of domestic violence where men beat up their wives for sometimes almost irrelevant issues. And that is still a problem. The government says they are trying to make sure that men stop that, but it has not really been completely stopped. So that's why I'm still talking about it. There is also instances of marital rape where several women have reported to be pregnant because their husbands wanted them to have children even when they didn't think they really were ready and wanted it. There is still no specific law in my country preventing the violence against women. So sometimes some men just take advantage, they drink, and they feel like it's okay to do whatever they want to do on the women. And it is a serious issue. Of course, it's not common nowadays because several women have learned to report them to the police. So they are a bit cautious not to continue hitting their wives or mistreating them. The government has been helpful to create what we call call centers where victims of gender based violence can call and report their husbands. But then this is only in 4 regions, whereas the country has 10 regions. So there are still like 6 regions lacking those call centers. And you can imagine what is happening for women in those areas. The last thing I would like to talk about is about property. When women and men marry in Cameroon, because for us homosexuality is not recognized, so when the weddings are done in the councils, the government always asks, what kind of marriage do you want to have? They call it joint property or separate property. Joint property is what is mostly always accepted, but there have been rare cases where the man dies later on and the woman is not able to take those property, I mean, to care for the children, to continue using it. So for many situations, the family member of the man came and they took away the property and the women could not do anything. So for several years now, that has been an issue. But lately, several women also have been able to use their marriage certificate and take it to the government, and they were able to retrieve the property. It's still a challenge, I mentioned, because so many women don't know they can't even report the case to the government so that they can get back their property. That's it about marriage rights. I'll go quickly to political, social, and economic rights. For the political rights, it is not recognized when women participate in politics. I know that sounds really awkward. And actually, women are even afraid to be part of politics, which, in my opinion, shouldn't be the case. For example, in the last elections in 2018, only there was no lady, actually the former election, then there was a lady who tried, but she was just nowhere near the winning stand. We have had a president who has been on seat for 35 years, almost 40 years actually. He is about 90 years. I think he's the oldest in the whole wide world. And he doesn't want anybody, and the women also are afraid to vote somebody else. So it's just a political mess. Some women actually are encouraged to vote during elections, but they are just afraid because they don't want to be disregarded and insulted by their husbands. Or it's a whole mess. I can't even get into too much details about that. But on the economic part, the government has tried so much to encourage women to be part of businesses, to start up their own businesses. So if you go to the markets, for example, most of the businesses are held and owned by women, which, in my opinion, is a really good way to motivate them. However, for private companies, many of the women are not paid exactly the same like the men, even if they do the same kinds of jobs. And that still remains a serious issue because um, some men have the mindset that women shouldn't earn the same like them. So, because of this, companies just find it natural to not pay women as much money as they pay men, even if they are performing exactly the same task. And sometimes some women have even studied more. So that's a serious issue. This has left many women to be more in the informal sector. They're just into agricultural businesses that do not require them to be controlled by a man. And in my opinion, I think it's a serious issue. Anyways, lastly, for the social part, water stability and medical facilities, there are some hospitals that still don't have medical facilities, especially for pregnant women. There are thousands of cases where women have died just because the government didn't provide the sufficient medical facilities for that, maybe clinic or health center, and the woman had complications. There was no time to refer her to a bigger hospital, and women have died and babies have died unborn. And for me, that is still a serious concern that that Cameroonian women are facing. Now, for the last one, educational support. For the most part of the country, I think more than 80-90% of the country, women are allowed to go to school. This is a phobia I've heard from several people in several countries that I've traveled to. That is it true that African women are not allowed to go to school? And that is actually just a stigma from somewhere. I don't know where it is actually coming from, but women are allowed to go to school, and we have been going to school. Like, I have had 3 master's degrees, but for some women in specific areas, there is still a serious issue concerning education. For example, in Cameroon, in the northern regions, we have mostly the Muslim population. And Muslims have some of their rules, which I cannot get into too much details. I'm not a Muslim, but they give their children, especially the girls, to marriage at very young ages. 13, sometimes even 14. A lady is already sent, I would say lady, a girl is already sent to her husband's house. And of course, in many of those cases, those parents don't send those children to school before that age because they feel like, it's not necessary. She's just going to get married anytime soon. So why waste time for her to go to school? And that has been a serious battle. The government has been trying to talk to Muslim parents and encourage them to allow the children to make their decisions when they're older, to marry if they want to, but at least education should be a priority. So that again is still a battle between religion and the government, and several Muslims are still going to school, but some are not allowed because of their families, and they cannot disobey their families. So that's why I consider it a challenge. But in the Christian section of Cameroon, where I'm coming from and many other parts, it's a recognized right, and in fact it's so common. It's unlikely that a lady will be at home, or a girl child will stay at home when the boy goes to school. It's a must for all of them to go to school together. The second point I would like to make is some teachers have also made the educational process a little bit complex for women, for girls, because they request money from the parents. This is, of course, illegal, and I don't know how much my government has been working to improve on that, but they ask extra money from parents, and poor parents cannot afford that, so it is still a serious issue. Based on the primary school, at least the government has been nice, I would say, to respect the UN to make it free, so children can go for free to school at the primary school level. But from the secondary, high school to the university, you have to pay fees, and that requires money. It's not too much money, of course, compared to Japan, but it's quite a lot of money, and for some families that's a little bit of a challenge. So that could also be one of the reasons why some parents cannot send their children to school, especially the girl child. They prefer, okay, maybe let's send the boy, and when he works money, he will be able to take care of the family. But in most cases, the girl grows older and didn't go to school. So I think that sums up the major problems. I decided to show you guys the picture of a fabric that we have every year in Cameroon. The government produces different kinds of fabrics, and women can sew different material clothes every year to celebrate the International Women's Day. That will be all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Well, that's interesting that these are designed by the government, and then people can. Do you still pay for them? Do you pick them up? What about those fabrics?
You have to pay for them. You
Okay.
must pay for them. Yeah, but
Okay,
it's
you
quite
pay for
cheap.
them, and then
Yeah.
you can give them to a tailor to make clothes out of it.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for the presentation. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Let's see what kind of comments we have. So I think the first ones are about the first part where you showed us what International Women's Day is like in Cameroon. One student said it would be nice if it were a national holiday in Japan as well. So having off work for women would be nice, or for everyone, that would be nice too. And then another student says it really looks like a carnival. Yeah, so those photos were really, really beautiful. And then we have a comment. It's interesting how many things are similar to other countries, no matter where in the world, especially things like domestic violence, unfortunately. So, of course, some things you told us about are specific to Cameroon, but a lot of the things I feel like are shared by women worldwide.
Yeah.
And then, one last comment saying that your clothes are very beautiful. So I agree. I love what you're wearing.
Thank you.
Was that this year's fabric, or is that something different?
Oh, no. What I'm wearing now is completely different. This
Okay.
year's fabric is the first fabric here on the picture.
The yellow one.
As
Oh,
you can
nice.
see, yes, 2023 at the edge here under the flag. Yeah,
Very nice.
this
Is
one.
that a random image, or is that like a famous person on the...
No, they just use random women.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think that's a famous person.
Okay.
It's just maybe an anime or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm grateful.
And yes, Montana, would you like to share your screen now and tell us more about Thailand?
Okay, I will just start sharing my screen now. I hope you can see it. Can you see this one?
Yes, we can see. Yeah. You might want to make it a bit bigger.
Yeah, I will just make it like this. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Okay, from my side, I would like to present about the gender equality and women at work in Thailand because, in Thailand, actually we have some equality. I mean, like for the rights of marriage, yeah, and for education, we don't pay extra for that. But when we come to the work that we need to work after we graduate, then there will be some like inequality between that. So I will just go to the next slide. Okay, but first I would like to introduce myself. My name is Muntana, and my surname is Tilpaingam, and I'm a Thai tutor from Cafetalk, so I can teach Thai for you all. And actually, I'm working for the university as well. I am an English teacher over there, and I also work as the coordinator for foreign teachers in the school, like the Catholic schools here. Because like in Thailand, like many Thai people, they like don't speak English. So that's why like if one person can speak English, then you can like get a lot of opportunity for that. But as a woman, like we may be paid lesser than men in some kind of the jobs. Let me talk about the past in Thailand, why it happened like this. Like back to the past of Thailand in Ayutthaya period, like most of the men over there, they are forced to serve the crown's work or military. So women, they need to like handle all the works at home, like house chores and take care of the families and farms and households. So that's why it's like the image for people to see women that they need to be at home, cooking, taking care of children, and do many things for men because men need to work hard outside. And that's why it leads to nowadays. Like some other people still have like that traditional mind that they think that housework and children care will for women only. Yeah, and this thinking still exists in the present time. Let's see here. Like nowadays, actually Thai women have joined the workforce in large numbers. Like not only men that can do it, but they have not risen to senior responsible positions equal to those of men. Like they can work, but they cannot like get any progress or advancement from that career. They don't earn more, but those who are men, they can earn more than this. And like according to like UNDP Human Development Report in 2020, Thailand ranked 79th in the Gender Inequality Index, and only 14% of parliamentary seats are held by women. You can see that it's just like really less, and only 59.2% of women had participated in the labor force compared to the 76.1% of men. Because they think that women cannot work hard as men do. So they don't want to hire women like maybe for the construction site work, or even in the work that they need some of the logics like engineering, like architect, like those that they need to like require the thinking a lot. But actually I have found that some like maybe most of women, they can do as same as men do as well. And also according to the NSO's data in Thailand, the number of employed persons classified by industry, sex and work status shows that women have participated in agriculture, mining, manufacturing, construction, commerce, transport, storage, communication, and services. But it is found low paid. Like we cannot like earn as much as men do. So we still have like inequality for this part. And it also demonstrates that women have only a slightly lower participation rate than men in the workforce, even though like they have entered into every business sector, like they still need women to work with men, but they pay lesser. Even we have like the same education, even we can do the work as same as men do, but it's still like not same in the pay rate that they paid us. And also some well-educated women, even though they have like achieved considerable occupational advancement, but many women still remain concentrated into traditional and relatively low status work as well. So they cannot be like the professional level or senior level as fast as men do. Like in some of the career like police, like that, soldiers, the work that they require more men than women. They will they just think like us will be not as good as men. We cannot work as hard as them. We don't have like the energy and power like they do. And women at work in the modern society, women obtain higher level of education like up until PhD, unlike like in the past, like maybe like 40, 50 years ago or maybe 60 years ago, that they just said that like women didn't need to study a lot. They need to like just be good in the housework and treated men like that, and then married someone, bear children, and then just take good care of them. But now it's no longer like that. Like nowadays, they are more like educated person, but still, in the eyes of the others, women with positions of authority and responsibility or with managerial skills are not prominent in Thailand. And also, like some women still successfully competed for this. Like they can obtain scholarships to study abroad and then got the good work, good fortune, but they become civil servants upon their return and took an active part in administration positions in government. They will just work for the government because like if you work for the government, it means that we need to take exams, and that like makes us equal to like everyone that comes to take exams. And next, for the obstacles, I will just talk for the obstacles of the women at work in the modern society. Like as I said, women and men like sometimes we are paid like lower than men do. So women in Thailand still face significant social pressures and ongoing challenges to equality by some traditional minded employer, especially on her study area and work. Like as I said, engineering, architecture, um, like technology, computer, like that, they will just focus on men. Like those boys, like you can find that like in the university, if like suppose I teach in the faculty of engineering, because I have some of the students from there, and like I can find that there are more boys than girls. Like there are only like maybe 4 or 5 girls in the section, but there are like 20 boys in that area. So it means that like some of the parents also they don't want their girls to study in engineering. Like they say like it's the men work in the future. So for the girls, they need to choose like languages or nursing or something like that, the kind of work that women can do. And also many companies judge women by her physical strength, not equality of work, not like the quality one, comparing to men as they think that women cannot work as hard as men do, as I just said like many times. Because they judge that women is like they are weaker than men, so they cannot work as hard as they do. And also, women face obstacles of doing the same work as men, but get paid lesser due to the attitude towards women's physical strength. As I said, they think that women are weaker than men, or sometimes they need to bear children, they need to get pregnant, they need to just have a maternity leave or sick leave like that. So they just think that women, like, sometimes they are useless for work. They cannot put all the effort for work like that. But actually, in my opinion, and some of the professionals or many people think that men and women had different working styles. Actually, we can choose whatever that they are suitable for us. Men were good in planning and decision making, while women were more detail oriented. Actually, in the future, if they had an opportunity to work and utilize their strong points together, the work completion would be more effective and successful. If they don't have the barrier that say that women are weaker than men, or women cannot do as hard work as men do, or as good as men do. So actually, if they just change their mind a little bit, I think it would be good for us too. Because we have the same rights, we have the same education. Here we don't have any obstacles for other purposes, but only for work that they pay women lesser than men here. Yeah, because this one also, some of my teachers, they say that women can perform work as good as men with the same quality of work or even better in some male-dominated industries like engineering, computing, architecture, or pilot, or many things. Some of my friends also become a pilot, and she can do well as well. But actually, they mostly focus on the men work for pilots. So I think if in the future our government can change the idea, and then they have the open minded for that and welcome more women to work in these industries and in some of the men work area, or the workforces that require just only men, like the construction sites, as I say, the mining, or many things. Even though women helped in the sites as well, but they were paid lesser than this. Okay, I think I will end this slide now, and I hope that you understand what I'm saying, and you can ask me any question if you want.
Thank you very much, Muntana.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can stop the screen share as well. Yes, thank you. And let me see what comments we got. One student says, if many women get high university degrees, hopefully things will improve in the future if society also changes. Yeah, I think it's a lot about stereotypes and, like you said, a lot of thoughts people hold in their minds about what women can and can't do, right? Not just the degrees, unfortunately. Another student says that a lot of what you talk about is connected to other issues in the world or similar to other issues in other countries. So yeah, I feel like it's a lot of what we heard today is similar. So there's a lot of similar struggle all around the world. And then one student says, women give birth to children, but people still think they have less physical strength. It's not logical. So, I mean, yep. that takes a lot of work. So, definitely. Okay. Yeah. If students, if you still want to leave some comments, feel free to leave them, but can pick them up again at the very end. あと何か質問があればぜひチャットに書いてください。 Before that, let's hear a little bit from each of you about your Cafetalk lessons. So I'm not sure if we're in the same view for everyone, but let's go in a round basically. So let's do Sarah and then Amy and then Montana and then back to me. And then I will say something about Serena at the end, who already had to leave us.
Okay. Thank you so much again. I offer several lessons on Cafetalk. I talk about Cameroon culture, about Cameroon food as well. Those who are interested in food, we can just discuss. I know you might not know all the ingredients, but I'll just show you pictures. And then you can salivate. So I talk also about African culture in general. You can ask me any question about any country. I've been to quite a few of them, not all of the continent, but I can share some stories about my travels around in several African countries. But I also do grammar, conversation lessons, and Christian counseling. If you want us to talk about the Bible, I love that. And sometimes I do basic French lessons, but it depends with people who at least know a little bit of French. Because my French is also broken, but at least we can discuss just basic. I'll be
Great,
waiting
thank you
to
very
have
much.
you, students. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you so much. So for me, I've been tutoring English for a few years now. I've done a lot of in person at institutions, universities, and also online virtually as well. For me specifically, a lot of my expertise is on grammar points. Grammar. I have tutored with SATs, or TOEFL and TOEIC, and all of that nature, and so lots with grammar, essay writing, college applications. Also, with my professional background, I worked in international offices, so lots with visas and study abroad opportunities. So that's a lot of where my expertise lies. So if you have any interest in studying abroad, or you want to travel abroad and you want some help with some English you should know before you go, or anything of that nature, so please feel free to contact me about that. And I'm gonna pass it off.
Yes, thank you. Montana, would you like to go next?
Yeah, okay. For like on the Cafetalk, I'm teaching Thai, just only Thai, like Thai alphabets, like enjoy your Thailand trip, like that, or Thai conversation about food and drinks, about cultures. Like if you want to know that, like if you want to know like short conversation before you come to Thailand, because in Thailand, like I've heard that it's like a very popular country now. Maybe just in Bangkok or in Chiang Mai, but I'm living in the northeastern part, so like it's just the small like city where I'm living in. So if you want like have some suggestions from me, because sometimes I fly to Bangkok or Chiang Mai as well, so you can ask me for that, or you can just ask me for some of the conversation that are necessary for you before you fly here to Thailand. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And Serena already had to leave because we went a little bit over time. So also thank you so much to everyone for staying. So let me just quickly share my screen here for a moment to look at her profile. So Serena is an Italian tutor. So just like Montana, not English lessons, but Italian in her case. And she has a lot of different lessons for different levels. So of course she has beginner lessons, and then moves up to C2, which is the highest level. So whatever your level of Italian is, you can study with her. And then, she has one where she uses manga to teach. And survival phrases if you're going on vacation to Italy, for example. So check out her profile as well, and her lessons. Okay, so again, thank you all so much for joining. It was so interesting, and we really had a colorful mix from all these different places and continents and cultures. So thank you so much for sharing. And I hope we can do a similar event again next year. For International Women's Day, we have one more event in Spanish. もう一つ、多分30%、日本語、70%スペイン語の、国際女性デーのイベントも、今月末にはありますので、もし興味があればぜひ、キャンペーンページの方をご覧ください。That one will just be in Japanese and in Spanish, so no English in that one, but if you speak one of those two languages or interested in Spanish, I think it's about Argentina or an Argentinian artist, feel free to check that out as well. Okay, then yes, thank you all very much. And just stay on this video for all of you. And to all of the students, thank you for joining and have a great day. Goodbye.